The film begins with Stanford University posting an advertisement seeking male college students to participate in a psychological study about prison life. The offer promises $15 per day for 1 to 2 weeks, a sum that quickly draws attention. Most applicants are motivated by money rather than academic interest. Each candidate undergoes a screening process designed to filter out individuals with known psychological instability or aggressive tendencies. The interviews appear professional and thorough, giving the impression that the experiment is safe. Ultimately, a group of young, healthy students is selected. Roles are assigned randomly using a coin flip, emphasizing that neither personality nor background determines who becomes a guard or a prisoner. This randomness is framed as essential to the experiment's integrity. The participants accept their roles casually, unaware of what lies ahead. Dr. Philip Zimbardo introduces himself as the lead researcher and superintendent of the simulated prison. He explains that the study aims to observe how institutional structures influence human behavior. The experiment will take place inside Stanford's psychology building. Several faculty offices are converted into prison cells, while a long hallway becomes the prison yard. Surveillance cameras are installed throughout the space, allowing researchers to observe every interaction. From the start, constant monitoring creates a sense of pressure. The guards attend a formal orientation led by Zimbardo. He instructs them that physical violence is strictly forbidden, but discipline and order are essential. To reinforce authority, guards receive uniforms, batons, and mirrored sunglasses that hide their eyes. Zimbardo stresses that the participants should no longer refer to the situation as an experiment or simulation. From this point forward, it is to be treated as a real prison. This subtle shift in language begins to blur the line between roleplay and reality. Meanwhile, the prisoners are arrested at their homes by campus police in front of family members. The arrests are intentionally realistic, creating confusion and fear. Daniel Culp is taken away in handcuffs, immediately shaken by the experience. Upon arrival, the prisoners are stripped, searched, and forced to change into identical smocks. Their personal identities are erased and replaced with numbers. Daniel becomes Prisoner 8612, a label that soon defines his entire existence. Daniel is placed in a cell with Jeff and Peter. The three attempt to joke and remain calm, reminding themselves this is only a study. However, the environment already feels oppressive and humiliating. The guards conduct the first lineup, reading a long list of strict rules. Prisoners must remain silent at certain times, eat only during scheduled meals, and address guards formally. Even small violations carry consequences. Smoking is declared a privilege rather than a right, immediately creating resentment. One prisoner asks for a cigarette and is denied, reinforcing the guard's control. The tone of the experiment shifts from neutral to authoritarian. Christopher, one of the guards, quickly distinguishes himself from the others. He adopts a harsh demeanor, using his baton and voice to intimidate prisoners. Some guards appear uneasy, but none challenge him. The first counting drill begins, requiring prisoners to recite their numbers in order. Confusion leads to mistakes, and mistakes result in physical punishment. Push-ups and jumping jacks become tools of humiliation. Daniel openly questions the guards' behavior, pointing out that the contract prohibits abuse. His defiance irritates Christopher, who begins targeting him specifically. Daniel is sent to the hole for speaking out. The hole is a small, dark isolation space with barely enough room to stand. Daniel's time inside is short, but psychologically intense. When he returns, he is visibly shaken, but still defiant. That night, the guards wake the prisoners without warning. They are forced against the wall and ordered to perform exhausting exercises. The lack of sleep begins to wear them down. Peter completes his assigned exercises and refuses to continue. Frustrated, he calls Christopher a fascist pig. Christopher immediately orders him thrown into the hole. Christopher then turns his attention back to Daniel. He deliberately destroys Daniel's bed and forces him to remake it repeatedly. Each attempt is deemed unacceptable. Eventually, Daniel snaps and slams Christopher against the wall. Christopher reacts by striking him with a baton, clearly violating the rules. The moment is brief but significant. Realizing he crossed a line, Christopher quickly orders Daniel into the hole instead of reporting the incident. Other guards silently comply. The system protects its own authority. Inside the hole, Daniel feels conflicted. Part of him is terrified, while another part feels empowered for finally resisting. He begins encouraging Peter to organize a group rebellion. On the second day, tension continues to rise. Prisoner 5486 refuses to follow an order without his glasses, explaining he cannot see. His refusal is met with force. Guards drag him to the hole while he pleads for understanding. The punishment appears excessive, but the researchers continue observing. Zimbardo dismisses concerns as part of the process. After release, Daniel and Peter discuss coordinated resistance. Their plan involves unity and collective refusal to comply. For the first time, the prisoners feel a sense of shared purpose. The guards soon discover barricaded cell doors and torn ID numbers. The rebellion is open and unmistakable. Chaos erupts in the hallway. Zimbardo reprimands the guards for losing control and orders them to reassert dominance. He instructs them to break prisoner solidarity at any cost. Authority must be restored. The guards storm the cells, forcibly removing beds and personal items. Prisoners who resist are punished, while compliant prisoners are rewarded with food and privileges. Daniel secretly uses a screw to unlock his cell. Along with another prisoner, he attempts to escape. They soon realize all exits are locked. Guards rush in and capture them. The prisoners are stripped, screamed at, and forced against the wall. Their humiliation is intentional and severe. Daniel is labeled a dangerous influence and returned to the hole. Peter is moved to another cell. The message is clear: resistance will be crushed. Later, guards use a fire extinguisher to force open Peter's cell. The act is aggressive and unnecessary. The power imbalance grows more extreme. Daniel's mental state rapidly deteriorates. He screams for a doctor, claiming he feels broken and trapped inside his own mind. His panic is uncontrollable. Daniel is brought before Zimbardo and consultant Jesse Fletcher. He initially complains of physical pain, but eventually admits the guards are the real problem. Zimbardo dismisses his distress, suggesting Daniel is weak and responsible for his own suffering. He promises to talk to the guards, though privately he has no intention of doing so. When Daniel returns to the lineup, he completely loses control. He screams that this is real life, not an experiment, and that no one is allowed to leave. Daniel storms toward the camera, shouting that the researchers have no right to manipulate his mind. He threatens violence, terrifying the staff. That night, researchers decide Daniel must be released for safety reasons. His breakdown has crossed a point of no return. The next morning, Zimbardo is furious. He accuses the team of sabotaging the experiment and questions their professionalism. He insists Daniel was manipulating them. Zimbardo argues that the only difference between a guard and a prisoner is a coin flip. Power, not personality, determines behavior. The experiment continues. As days pass, Peter begins to crack. He isolates himself, screams into pillows, and begs for medical help. Reality fully replaces simulation in his mind. A visiting priest asks prisoners about legal representation. Peter realizes he might need a lawyer to get out. The idea terrifies Zimbardo. Guards force prisoners to chant, "Prisoner 819 did a bad thing," repeatedly. Peter hears the chant and breaks down completely, sobbing uncontrollably. Zimbardo finally allows Peter to leave, but remains angered by outside interference. His focus remains on preserving the experiment rather than protecting participants. On day 5, psychologist Christina Maslach visits. She witnesses prisoners being marched with bags over their heads to bathroom buckets. She is visibly horrified. Christina confronts Zimbardo, accusing him of abandoning ethics and humanity. She reminds him these are students, not criminals. Zimbardo resists her criticism. Despite the confrontation, guard Christopher escalates abuse. Prisoner 416 refuses to eat food placed near human waste and is punished severely. Christopher organizes humiliating roleplay and physical torment. One prisoner collapses under the weight of others sitting on his back. The scene is deeply disturbing. Zimbardo finally recognizes the experiment has spiraled beyond control. The authority he created now exists independently of him. He steps into the hallway and announces the experiment is terminated immediately. Prisoners show visible relief, while Christopher instantly drops his guard persona and asks about payment. In follow-up interviews, participants reflect on the experience. Guards admit being disturbed by their own cruelty. Prisoners describe long-lasting psychological damage. Daniel explains that while Christopher may be a decent person, power transformed him into someone unrecognizable. The realization continues to haunt him. Christopher insists he was conducting his own experiment on verbal abuse and authority. He does not fully acknowledge the harm he caused. The film concludes with Zimbardo dedicating his future work to studying authority and abuse of power. The experiment stands as a warning about how easily ordinary people can become cruel.